You know, it's not over till it's over.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Obviously, Yogi's phrase applies to a lot of things in life, but the truck toll controversy, if you will, is not yet on its last leg and actually has taken another turn back to federal court. And our guest, who is familiar to you and to the community, speaking on behalf of the trucking industry, will detail what that's all about coming up in just a couple of moments. Great to have you aboard. Thank you very much for tuning in to tonight's Wednesday edition of Dan York State of Mind. Let's go right to it and see what's got us going here today. Well, obviously the president was rallying his wazoo off last night. In fact, decided to call members of the FBI scum. There's that. And then there's an IG review at Senate today. And then there's impeachment markup for this evening.
President Trump ridiculed the impeachment effort at a campaign rally in Hershey, Pennsylvania last night.
The House Democrats announced these two flimsy, pathetic, ridiculous articles of impeachment.
Democrats laid out the charges against the president Tuesday. The first, abuse of power, alleges President Trump openly and corruptly urged Ukraine to publicly announce investigations into his political opponent, former Vice President Joe Biden.
The argument, why don't you just wait, amounts to this. Why don't you just let him cheat in one more election?
The second article of impeachment accuses the president of directing the unprecedented, categorical, and indiscriminate defiance of the House investigation. The Departments of State, Energy, and Defense refused to produce a single document or record.
Lawmakers on the House Judiciary Committee start debating the articles of impeachment tonight. If they vote them out of committee, they then go to the full House for a vote. That's expected next week.
It's a crime in progress. He's still doing it today. And so I say to my Republican colleagues, if you care about preserving our democracy, we have to hold this president accountable.
If passed in the House, the Republican-controlled Senate will hold a trial.
Totally surprised if there were 67 senators to remove the president.
It's not yet clear if the Senate will call witnesses to testify as part of the trial.
You know, a reminder, this is a political process. You don't have many trials where the judge and or the jury is predicting the outcome, as the senator is doing. But of course, the chance for a case manager coming from Rhode Island is pretty good. You saw David Cicilline there. He's in the lead, I guess, in terms of the House's positioning for an arguer for his case. Now, what's fascinating about what's going on is that this IG investigation was vetted out in front of the Senate today, and Senate Republicans are trying to lay some kind of foundational truth to this, or well, they're trying to establish that you would believe it is true, that badly executed and perhaps falsely executed FISA warrants against one Carter Page, who was originally suspected of being a Russian agent and tied in with the Trump campaign, are the only basis, or the beginning basis, foundational basis for the entire concern about Russia's meddling in the election and or intercourse, if you will, with the Trump campaign. That is not true. The Carter Page story is not exclusive. It is a component, but it is not exclusive. In fact, of 400 pages in the Mueller report, Carter Page story is 7 pages. There's no doubt that the FBI's got to clean its act up. There's no doubt that some of the FISA work there was either faulty, incompetent, purposefully incompetent, or all three. But in general, the decision makers who went through with this investigation on Russia and the Trump campaign didn't spy, didn't do anything illegal, and didn't show any bias. Despite some of the assertions that the president is making, I can promise you, as most of America, 99.9% of America, hasn't read this report and won't, and I have to admit, I've only read Cliff's notes on it. I can promise you the president hasn't, and just won't. His narrative will not change. So, you know, it's too bad that we don't have anybody in America anymore who just wants to agree that today is Wednesday night. You know, if we could start there, I think I think we'd be in a whole lot better shape. In the meantime, a couple of local issues here. This is something. Ted Nesi did some interesting work here. You've got to go to WPRI.com and read this latest story that Ted put together on the hospital environment. It seems that Care New England's Jim Finale, the CEO, has shown another burst of interest in talking with Lifespan about merging. This would be the third effort that these companies would have to do this. But Jim wants to bring partners along in the process at the same time. Partners is the Brigham, Boston, and the group that Care New England was going to partner with before they took one more stab at the governor's request to get with Lifespan. That's not a surprise to me. We've had a lot of conversations here with Care New England's Jim Finale about what eventually might come down the road, which is that Lifespan and Care New England would merge together. But that looming out there is the advantage of being hooked up with Boston and making this a regional system. Finale, according to Ted Nesi's story, has attempted to reach Tim Babineau, the boss at Lifespan, no less than 5 times on the telephone, and he won't return the call. That's childish. That's not constructive. And while the governor is wringing her hands over the idea that he just wanted everybody to get together and give it one more shot, maybe they ought to stop beating up on Care New England and their refusal to throw away a non-disclosure agreement from the last time around, which is what the governor and Babineau and others have been doing, and give Babineau a call and say, hey, Doc Finale would like to have coffee. Could you please take it? Unbelievable. In the meantime, this is unique. Fire chief hiring problems in the city of Providence. So the commissioner of public safety, Steve Perry, makes $160 a year in that job, but reportedly it's only budgeted for $120K. So the city government threw in $40,000 from what was then a vacant fire chief's position. But reportedly, the fire chief's position hasn't been filled, and some assert that it's because the salary's not whole, because the commissioner has 40 grand of it. By the way, the commissioner has a healthy pension from his state police tenure, where he served the public admirably, and still does. It seems to me that you can find a $40,000 solution to getting a fire chief if you need one, but you don't not hire one because somebody got a piece of the action. Fix that. That's embarrassing. All right. Truck tolls are back in court. You're still plugging. You are still plugging, Mr. Maxwell, the president of the Rhode Island Trucking Association.
Nobody has sung. This is just back where it belongs, in federal court.
Give me the 15-second cliff notes on this, and then we'll get right to it.
We feel, again, it will now be decided on the merits of the case. The Tax Injunction Act was a legal Hail Mary. It was the end around they had in their back pocket. It blew up in smoke. I think it's a major blow to their strategy, but to the governor's point, to our point, it is back in federal court where it belongs. If they were so confident about the constitutionality of truck tolls as they have been over the last 4 years, why not just let it go to the federal court? They were very hell-bent on putting it in state court, much more favorable venue to them.
All right, we will we'll break it down so you have a clear explanation of all of this. Stay with us. Alrighty, so here's a little bit of a summary as to what's happened with the twists and turns of the court case and truck tolls.
The first Rhode Island truck tolling gantries went live in June of 2018 as part of the RoadWorks tolling program. According to RIDOT, in 2018, the state made more than $7 million in truck tolls. The American Trucking Association sued, arguing discrimination against out-of-state truckers, and the tolls violate the Commerce Clause.
Feel that a user fee applied on the interstate is based on commerce, which is a federal interstate issue.
Thursday, the first appeals court reversed a lower court ruling that dismissed the suit. The ruling sends the case back to U.S. District Court, making it a federal case. For the trucking industry, it's too soon for a victory lap.
We're happy that after all this wasted time and wasted money and continued tolling that we're finally able to move this forward and get a decision.
The governor's administration and the Rhode Island DOT agree the decision isn't about the merits of the case. In a statement to Eyewitness News, the Raimondo administration said in part, "We remain confident this case will ultimately be decided in our favor."
I can tell you that the state lawyers were wholly confident over the notion that this remained a state case.
Yes.
I mean, they were cocky about it.
We felt as though, and that to my point earlier, this was a big part. They're downplaying it now. It was a big part of their strategy.
Oh, no doubt. And remind everybody, you do a good job of giving an objective view, even though you're an advocate for your association, but because I think you've become kind of a student of the case in addition to a player in the case, right?
You get into this world and you kind of...
Because you've got to be smart about the decisions that you make. So tell me, remind everybody, I'd rather have you explain it to me, what the plays were between state and federal in terms of the case itself. You guys sue, say, discrimination. Molly did a great job of explaining that. They wanted it defended in state court versus federal court. Why did they want it defended in state court?
Well, I think that it's a more favorable venue. It's a state court. You've got a judge that is deciding on signature legislation from a sitting governor. You've got a General Assembly that put this legislation in, and if you want a good career path, you're probably not going to decide against it. Just that is Rhode Island.
Well, that's an aesthetic benefit, and I don't deny that might be true.
They felt they said they crafted this on the basis that it was not a user fee, as tolls have been traditionally legally in any forum referred to as user fees, tolls. They felt that as I said before, a legal end around is a tax.
Well, here's the funny part.
So that's kind of where the cockiness came from. And we didn't know where the cockiness came from. That's what it was when they rolled it out.
We talked about this at the beginning. The irony of their legal argument that it was a tax flew in the face of the introduction of the concept, which is that this is a non-taxable program. This is a user fee.
Right.
So they defended the user fee. They wanted a venue
to get it through the General Assembly
to defend the tax, to call it a tax for an easier defense.
Right. So we rhetorically call it a supply chain tax because it is essentially, once this plays out, and it's going to play out very acutely, whatever way this happens, it's not a good thing for Rhode Island. Back to your point. It is an interstate commerce issue because they are putting tolls on the free paid-for interstate that we're still paying taxes, fuel taxes on, and they're adding another layer of funding. But in this case, they're adding it to trucks only. So you're not only tolling the free interstate, you're targeting one class of vehicles, and it is discriminatory in the sense that by what they call approximation of use. If you have a mile of road and you're all using it, 4 wheels or 18 wheels on the ground, it should be proportionate to the usage. So our point is, it will probably come back that it's got to be trucks and cars if you're going to keep those tolls.
Don't go ahead of me.
Okay.
So in terms of the process of the courts, so the federal judge who said this is a state issue and kicked it out, Judge Smith, is going to get the case back.
He'll get the case back.
Yeah, which is,
he didn't necessarily say, he was not looking at the optics of whether it's right or wrong in terms of federal commerce. He was looking at purely the jurisdiction, looking at the Tax Injunction Act, saying, hey, you know what? Look, it was a thoughtful decision by Judge Smith. What it did was it basically clarified the fact that tolls are not taxes, they're user fees, and arguments of this nature belong in the federal court. It will come back to him. They've already seen the court, this case. I think they maybe have formed an opinion on it. It will be very interesting, and we are not, again, taking a victory lap. It is where it belongs in it will be decided on the merits of the case.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about why. If he wins, we lose. Stay with us.
And if we lose.
Hold on. So, Mr. Maxwell, from the Rhode Island Trucking Association, the idea that if you win in federal court, we're not getting ahead of ourselves, but if you win in federal court on the notion that it's discriminatory to isolate trucks to pay tolls on our local bridges, the taxpayers, I project, will lose. Because as I have said the entire time, and I think you've agreed with me, the more gantries and the more investment that we have committed and up, the less chance that they'll be torn down and state government will be forced to make a decision, I'm guessing, even though they say no possible way, to just spread the burden.
Our loss, our win is a state loss. To your point, we're now at a point of now 4 gantries up, soon to be probably, although there's some delays going on, I guess, soon to be 6. You're halfway there now. You're going to start tearing this down. I think that they will softly start introducing the fact that, like Connecticut just did, that maybe a 50 cents or a buck on your car is a little bit of pain, but not the pain the trucker's going to feel, and it's worth it for all the good things that this is going to bring to Rhode Island for you to pay, for cars to pay that. So I think that inevitably that's the way it will play out. I don't see, my friend Frank from Italy works for Telepass, 8-country conglomerate, like the Easy Pass of the U.S., and he's been in this game for a long time. And when I have coffee with him and say, Frank, Rhode Island's going to toll trucks only, Frank buckles over laughing. He says, Cristoforo, nobody gets into this game to toll one class of vehicles. My point is, there's some old country wisdom right there from a good Italian man who knows this industry out, and there's no way.
I guess we need to book Frank, Anita. So let's
if we lose,
make sure we do that.
If we lose, there's a real net problem here. We will probably lose with the fact that there are inherent caps, daily caps per truck baked into this, that the General Assembly put in there to sell this to the business community, that it was not going to be as painful to them as the bad guys on the interstate. Those caps are probably the first things to go away. Even if we lose, those caps cannot stay in place, because those caps favor the local trucking industry. And we want protections, but protections have no place on an interstate tolling program. You can't protect your guys and hurt the guys going through. So more than likely, even with a loss or a victory on their side, those caps that were put out there by the General Assembly as protections for the local guys are going to go away. So your trucking company with 10 trucks paying $40 a day that had some level of certainty now has no certainty, and that truck that's paying, again, $400 a day, $2,000 a week, could conceivably be paying now $1,000 a day, $2,000 a day. It's not sustainable,
well, let me ask
but
you,
it's not sustainable to the consumer either.
So let me, on this, are you, I haven't seen any litigation, unless I missed something, inside the trucking industry on the discrimination between local and pass-through
that's
traffic.
part of our case.
It's part of your case.
Yeah, the part of the case
not only discrimination between truck and car, but between truck and truck.
Truck and truck, because they've imposed a cap. So a truck circling the state for 12 hours could rack up hundreds of miles and hundreds of dollars of tolls by usage, but only pay $40 per day. And a truck going through the state only using 46 miles of usage, northbound 95, southbound 95, so 46, do the math, 92 miles, they're paying the same amount. So the point is, there's approximation of use. To my point earlier, you're looking at the usage, and that has an approximate relation to the amount of tolls being paid. But in this case, you've gamed this to protect your local guys and give them almost and we're not against protecting the local guys, but we're talking about interstate commerce, and they rolled out local protections. I'm dealing with the New York Trucking Association right now. There are fees that they're trying to impose in New York City for trucks entering there, and they were going to try to cap it one time per day, and they said, no, that favors local guys. You can't do it when it becomes an interstate issue. So the caps that are in place now are very likely to be the first shoe to drop, even if we lose. So all the business owners out there, not just trucking companies, but businesses with commercial vehicles, and I'm talking all sizes, really better pay attention to this, because that is going to be a major, major hit to our supply chain.
Ironically, you run the Rhode Island Trucking Association, and your projection and your argument, again,
our argument hurts
you.
Hurts us, but at the end of the day,
well, the American Trucking Association isn't on this case.
But these warnings have been in place since day one. They don't know interstate commerce, and they've clearly demonstrated that for years now.
So we've already touched base on the fact that RIDOT is behind schedule.
Yeah, on weather-related issues.
I suggest they stay behind schedule.
I hope so.
Connecticut truck tolls project revenue, headline here.
Yeah.
What's happening with our neighbors?
Ned Lamont has gone from truck only to trucks and cars to cars having, as I alluded to before, having a little bit of pain at 50 cents, while trucks are at somewhere in $8 to $10. Then he came back with trucks only with local protections to the point of the local caps. They're all over the place. I think that they think that they're watching this. My gut would be that
everybody's watching.
Yeah, well, my gut would be that Connecticut's going to try to slam their tolls through, get them up there too, while this lawsuit plays out, and it could be years until it's decided. So let's get some Connecticut. Let's get some gantries up. So when the ruling comes down against, we'll at least have the infrastructure, and we can do the same thing.
What are your lawyers telling you the travel of this case would be now?
To my point earlier, this federal court, Judge Smith's court, has already seen it, so it's not like it's dropping out of the sky. So maybe there's been an opinion formed. We are still, it was $7 million collected in June. We're now a half a year ahead, so we're in excess of probably $10 million. We are being harmed. Perhaps there's some injunctive relief that's going to be sought because now it finally has jurisdiction, and now that it has jurisdiction, perhaps the tolling stops until there can be a decision.
To your credit, you made a public statement on one of your own. A headline here: North Kingstown Trucking Company faces felony charges. We only have a minute, but explain to me. They allegedly failed to pay $75,000 in unpaid tolls in Maine. They got nabbed. They were pulled over with 5 trucks. Not good for your industry.
Not good for our industry, but there are characters, rogue operators like this in every industry. They're not members of our association for a reason. I'm aware of them. We're privy to some of their business practices, and this is indicative of how they operate. You don't accidentally run up that much in tolls because of just oversight or they didn't go to your mailbox. Bottom line, it's a black eye to our industry, but every industry has players like this. They're not members. We disown them, but it's not a good thing. But we don't believe in tolls. Look, our industry plays tolls. We don't believe in truck-only tolls. We don't think interstate tolling is there, but we're mostly not against toll evasion. You got to pay it. If it comes out in the wash that it's illegal, then that's another story.
The law is the law. All right, good overview. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You follow all that? Final word next. This truck toll thing, I'm telling you, is going to end up right splatting on our laps. It's just going to. The discrimination case is going to be well argued, and again, if the truckers win, we lose. If the truckers lose, businesses lose. The whole place loses. The stinker of an idea was worth 10% of the financing on the total infrastructure project of Rhode Island. Not worth it, not worth it, not worth it. Good night. See you on the radio tomorrow, 3 on WPRO.